Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hearing. A topic of conversation for a long time has been the potential for integrating health sensors into earworn devices. Though not insignificant, so far, hearable health sensors have been deployed in only limited ways due to a mix of factors including comfort, battery drain, and lack of compelling use cases to drive consumer demand. But a lot of developments are taking place to solve these issues so that we may soon see the ear taking its place alongside the watch as a health monitoring platform. In fact, the ear has a bright future as an ideal place to gather biometric data. One company working towards this future is MindMics, with its innovative system for monitoring heart rate and other characteristics acoustically. To learn more about MindMics in particular and the future of in-ear health sensing more generally, I have with me today Dr. Anna Barnacka, founder and CEO. Anna is actually traveling at the moment, and I want to thank her for joining us despite being in a hotel lobby. Appreciate you spending time with us today. Anna, welcome to the show. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and MindMics.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Barnacka, and I'm CEO and founder of MindMics. MindMics is a technology platform. We are really a software platform that turns earbud into GPS for health and well-being. We're not using the optical line like traditional wearable devices. We're using the sound wave, and from the sound wave that our body is producing, we can unfold the whole story of our health, starting with the cardiac health, with parameters like heart rate or variability. But that's just the beginning of the way how we're scratching the surface of what sound waves can tell us about our health.
That's really interesting, and I want to dive into the technology in more detail. But before we do that, I'm always fascinated with people whose career paths are not linear. So can you tell me and everyone else a little bit about what you were doing before you founded MindMics and why you started the company?
It's absolutely my pleasure. And non-linear track is definitely the way to describe it. Or if you think about, I like to say that I'm by training physicist and astrophysicist, and physics is everywhere. It's the same physics that applies to the black holes as well as applies to human body. But to go back to your question, so I was an astrophysicist. Actually, before starting MindMics, I was at Harvard working as a NASA Einstein Fellow, diving into understanding how supermassive black hole work and spin all of that matter and the relativistic jets and a lot of extreme phenomena using FX regression lensing. But at the same time, hard work took me to the place of a lot of physical exhaustion. So I needed a way to monitor my health. And definitely I didn't want to slow down and take breaks. When you are at Harvard, you feel that the whole universe is open with the possibilities. And then definitely wanted to take those opportunities ahead of me. So I thought, okay, I've been always solving problems through science. So why not to use the skills I had into turning galaxies into telescopes, and I literally helping with building telescopes to build something to zoom into my own health and have something that would give me accurate information. So this is how my journey started, from being a astrophysicist to using those skills to help me better navigate my own health.
That has to be the broadest journey I've ever heard, going from studying interstellar space to what's happening within a person's body. I love it.
It's a lot of many orders of magnitude.
Now, you mentioned that the MindMics system is working acoustically. Help us have a better understanding of that. How can you acoustically monitor a person's heart rate, rhythm, and other facets of heart health while a person is simultaneously listening to audio?
So this is why I have to go back to the discovery that MindMics made, and also it goes back a little bit to the background, to my background in astrophysics. As one of the first things you learn in astronomy is that how little we actually see with our own senses. In terms of the eyes, we only see 2 octaves of light, when what's out there, it's about 60 octaves of light. So 1 octave is a 1 doubling of frequencies. So with MindMics, the journey is similar. It's into what we don't hear. we hear about 8 to 10 octaves of sound. So actually, our hearing is extremely powerful. But still, there is a lot of information that we don't hear, especially below 20 hertz. Below 20 hertz, we call those frequencies infrasound. And those are frequencies that we cannot hear. And the reason why we don't hear them is because literally our body is generating a lot of those very low frequencies. And our brain itself had to evolve into finding the ways to be able to filter them out. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to function, because we have a huge pump in our chest that is pumping liters of blood every minute, and that creates huge amount of sound. So our brain learn how to filter it out, so we don't hear ourselves. So you can think about the full ear canal as a system that is a transducer. Brain is using the transducer, the ear canal, as a microphone to listen to the world environment around us. But what we discovered at MindMics was that actually that system can also works as a speaker, in the way that all of the vibrations created inside our body by the cardiovascular system, by the blood rushing for the arteries, literally every blink, motion, all of those vibrations are traveling to the ear canal. And what's happening there? The ear canal, the walls of the ear canal start vibrating. It's a tiny displacement, but enough to make the vibration airborne. Airborne vibration is a sound. And when we get MindMics, we can pick up those sound waves using regular earbuds. Today, industry moved tremendously in terms of what we have in the earbuds. 5 years ago, when we started MindMics, earbud only had speakers inside and cables, and that was really fancy technology to actually have a good earbud. It was just the first wireless earbuds coming into the market, so majority of the earbuds only had speakers inside them. Today, every earbud has a powerful chipset and multiple sensors, multiple microphones, for example, for noise cancellation. And what do we do at MindMics? We learn to actually use those microphones that are already in the earbud, usually used for noise cancellation, to listen to those sounds created by those tiny displacements of the ear canal, created by every heartbeat, and everything is happening eternally, and that's extremely fascinating and exciting, because with sound waves, we can see what's inside, but in a very non-invasive way.
Okay, and so it's interesting, because I recently saw a report that said roughly 75% of earbuds over $100 have ANC now, and that survey is a year old, so it's probably a little higher. And there are many models even below $100 with ANC. So what you're saying is you're using the ANC microphone that's facing the ear canal in order to pick up the low frequency sounds of one's body. So it actually doesn't take an extra sensor, correct?
That's correct. We can repurpose those microphones. The other aspect of the infrasound that be going below 20 hertz is that below all of the sounds we hear, or below, it does not include the voice, does not include music. So simultaneously, we can actually use the earbud to listen to music, and this does not interfere with the biosignal that we're capturing using those microphones. Of course, the microphone has to be sensitive enough. It's infrasound. It's really for us was an interesting journey, as the microphones are not the specifications do not go below 20 hertz, because people for the long time thought, okay, that there's nothing interesting happening below 20 hertz, so why to even bother characterizing the microphones that in those low frequencies. So at MindMics, we build a cool infrasonic lab where we can evaluate the microphones for the performance below 20 hertz. We built that lab to evaluate also the full acoustic performance of the earbud to ensure that actually the system is tuned within the parameters for us, so we can detect the biosignals. But in principle, to answer your question, yes, we actually using the microphones that very often are already in the earbud.
Okay, so there may be some more specifications to the microphone than an ordinary ANC microphone, but once the correct microphone is chosen, it can be used for both purposes. So you're not actually putting an additional sensor in the earbud, just the correctly specified one. Now, there have been people for a long time working on putting PPG sensors, optical sensors, into earbuds. What are the advantages of your system versus an optical sensor?
That's a very good question. So actually, interestingly, the PPG technology, the optical sensors, they were first proposed for the ear because ear is the place to collect the data. It's close to the brain, close to the heart. So it's definitely the right place. But PPG sensor, it's big and it's hard to make it smaller. And it drains a lot of battery. So just from that perspective, MindMics has a huge advantage because we don't have to add extra sensor. And we know that whenever you have to add any sensor to the earbud, it's a tiny space. And to make the earbuds comfortable, earbud has to be small. So adding anything that would take that very expensive real estate, it's tough. So this is where, even from that simple reason of usability, it's MindMics is winning because we don't need extra sensor. Will not drain extra battery because microphone is already there. But that's just the beginning of the advantages of MindMics. So when you build the earbud, it's a big enough, it's large enough to actually look at MindMics seriously and considering it to enable, because it does not need extra sensor, which means that it's cheaper. You don't have to add that bulky sensor to that tiny real estate. But so from that perspective, it's already exciting. But that's just the beginning of the story. Why MindMics is our technology, which we call in-ear infrasonic stimulonography, opens the next level of the insights to our health. PPG technology is using the optical light, so it's can look at the blood flow just below the skin, usually a few millimeters below the skin. So that part of the blood flow that is far away from the center of the action. With MindMics, what we detect, those acoustic waves, the sound waves, actually comes from the central part of the cardiovascular system, because literally our tongue, the whole system works as a speaker. And we can literally look at the heart, we can look at the central part of the cardiac system in the way that today is only possible with the very invasive procedures. And an advantage of the infrasound is that there's a very, very, very large waves. At 1 hertz, the length of the sound wave is about 100 meters. So when you think at the distance between the heart and the ears, it's a small one in the comparison, which means that we lose very little information. So we literally can use that to have very accurate information of a central part of the cardiovascular system, as opposed to seeing the heartbeat when it's already modulated by the changes as the blood is propagating through the cardiovascular system. So this is opening truly a new way of looking at our health.
Okay, so because you're using very long wave audio and the nature of the human body, you're actually picking up conducted sound from the central part of the body, not merely at the surface of the ear canal. That's interesting. And then that must mitigate other factors related to PPG sensing. For example, at least on wristwatches, I've seen more difficulty getting accurate measurements with darker skinned people. Is it safe to assume that that's not a problem when you're working acoustically?
It's very safe to assume, as the waves propagate and they don't depend on the skin tone. We internally know the same. So sound waves can propagate, and skin tone, it's not an issue at all. And that's just one of the issues that sound-based technologies have a huge advantage.
What are some of the others?
When you go back about what's the nature of the signal itself, so the PPG sensors, they only look at the blood flow just below the skin, which means that each time the heart is pumping, they detect the bump. For healthy individuals that have a very good blood circulation, those bumps can have also some extra other features that could tell us a little bit more about the health. But whenever, let's say, you have your blood circulation is not as good, you start losing those features. With MindMics, because we're actually looking at the central part of the cardiovascular system, we did the multiple clinical studies with Scripps Health, where we're comparing the heartbeats detected in the ear using MindMics technology, looking at those in-ear acoustic pressure. We've been comparing them to the heart catheterization, which is very invasive. We literally, where cardiologists literally put the probe into people's aorta and the heart, and they look at the pressure waves. And we've seen very high correlation between those waves in the aorta, the pressure wave, blood pressure in the aorta, and the in-ear acoustic pressure that we detect with MindMics, including those tiny features, those tiny details that tell us about when the aortic valve is opening, closing, those features of the hemodynamics as the blood is rushing through the cardiac system, and the forward wave, reflected waves of things that till now only available through very invasive procedures. And we see those details. We literally MindMics see, just to give a little bit of taste of that, we literally see aortic valve and close it in real time. When with optical technology, you see a bump, and you can calculate how many bumps you get, and yes, you get very good heart rate. So definitely, because of heart rate with picture technology, sometimes for the healthy individuals, heart rate variability can have pretty good measures as well. But whenever there's an issue, we start losing that information. So actually with MindMics, it's quite reliable, and we can measure heart variability, but it is just the beginning, because what we see with our clinical validation, we'll be able to see true dynamic of the heart.
Okay, so really is a first level, you're looking at heart rate and heart rate variability, but you can monitor so much more. And you mentioned clinical studies. Are you heading towards FDA approval for measuring any characteristics at all?
That's definitely our ambition, and we're trying to understand what are those characteristics that we could bring for and clear for the FDA. But we're not waiting for the FDA clearance, because with the parameters that we have today, heart rate, heart variability, especially we know that we can enable them on the devices and also through our cloud. We don't want to wait. We want to provide those actionable insights to the market today. And in the meantime, in the background, working toward all the parameters as well with hemodynamics and other aspects still to help and understand how the path for this technology will look like to also clear it for FDA. So that's definitely our ambition. But today we're starting with the commercialization with heart rate, heart variability, because this already can add so much value, and we're turning it into a lot of actionable insights using our dashboard, where we're turning those numbers into physiological states and providing actionable tools like breath work that people can use to better manage their stress, recovery, and overall well-being.
Okay, it actually brings two questions to mind. I'll ask the first one, and that is, and I think it's worth explaining to the audience what the role of heart rate variability is and why you would measure it.
This is an excellent question, because we all know about the heart rate, and I would say this is such a great contribution from all of the wearable devices, especially watches. Going back 10 years ago, only people who would have heart issues, they would think about the heart rate. So definitely, we all know today why to measure heart rate, and it's an important metric. But heart rate itself doesn't give us enough insights into what's happening, how our body is responding. But when we add to it heart rate variability, this is where we actually start diving into something that it's called autonomic nervous system, or you can think about this as a control system of our body that is sending control information between brain and between all of the organs, and is adjusting accordingly to our needs and to external and internal stimuli. And heart rate variability is one of those parameters that heart rate variability defines how much variation there is from heartbeat to heartbeat in terms of the distance, duration of that interbeat interval, so the time between the heartbeats. We often think that our heart is like a metronome, and more regular it is, the better. But actually, it's the opposite. Usually when people have very stressed out, the heart behaves like a metronome, like a very stiff metronome that have the same time between the heartbeats. For healthy individuals, especially when we are in that recovery state, there is a huge variation from the heartbeat to heartbeat, and bigger the variation, more agile the heart is to respond to all kinds of stressors, internal and external. So heart rate variability is an indicator of good health. Higher the heart variability, more variation there is, better we can adapt to the needs. And also there are ways to improve the heart variability. Some of the wearables start bringing that metric, but the metric they bring is usually heart variability measured once per day or longer period of time, which is very interesting and gives a lot of insights about the recovery. What we do at MindMics, it's another level higher, because we're looking at this very short response, very short variability. We're measuring in within 20 to 30 seconds, which literally gives us the response of our body, gives us the physiological state and response to what is happening now. So as opposed to reflect later about what happened, we can see actually how our body is responding. And sometimes we have feel that something is stressing us out, but actually heart variability can show what kind of impact it has on us in real time just by looking at those changes. And it's a very dynamic parameter because our body is very dynamic and is responding all the time. So heart rate variability is this new metric that people really start understanding its value and how actionable it is as well. Because I think when we think about the data and providing people insights, it's all about, is it actionable? What we can do about is when you see that your heart rate variability is low or large, what do you do about this? So the beauty of this parameter is that with the simple breathing exercises, you can change it. You can increase it. If you hold your breath, you will decrease heart variability very quickly. So you can actually see how much you can control it. And this is from my perspective, and there's a lot of great literature showing that heart rate variability is one of those that is very actionable and provides, can give us insights on to how our body is responding to stressors, to things that are good for us and bad. So in this way, we can start getting pretty good idea of what's good for us and what isn't. So going back to my journey as astrophysicist, I wanted to have that dashboard that will tell me what's good, what's bad, and if I should slow down or I can go faster. And that's what we built at MindMics. We translated those parameters literally into a dashboard, and that's what we bring to market today based on those two parameters, heart rate and heart variability to start. So you can see for yourself what's good, what's bad, and how you can build that better awareness about health and well-being, and how to improve health.
Okay. At the beginning of that, you said people are mostly focused on heart rate, and I'll confess to being guilty as charged. As the distance runner, heart rate dictates how you train, essentially. I never really thought about heart rate variability. It seems so counterintuitive that when the variability is low, that's actually not a good thing. And so by interpreting heart rate variability, you said that you're delivering actionable insights. And that, I think, has always been one of the key problems with health sensing, wearable health sensing, because if I look at my watch and I see some numbers, what does it mean to me? And I look at my watch, an hour later and I see some different numbers, what does that mean to me? So how are you actually building a system that gives people both short and long-term insights as to their state of health?
Absolutely. It's all about making it actionable, not just giving people numbers. We are overwhelmed with numbers, especially today. So it's all about how we can help people, guide them to make better decisions. And so I would say what's at the core of that change is that MindMics is building that GPS for health and well-being, which means that I like using the analogy to GPS, because this allows us to build the closed-loop systems. So to build the actionable solutions and put it as a part of the user experience, when people can actually see what is their state and how different interventions or their actions, what kind of impact they have. So in this way, you can make better decisions. So at the core of that is enabling the closed loop systems. And this is why I like to use an analogy of GPS, that MindMics is that GPS for health and well-being. So when we think about the GPS itself, it enabled all of the solutions like Lyft, Uber, they really connected us. Also the Google Maps. So to make that possible, make it actionable, make that world connected, that we can actually build new solutions that actually work, and choosing the parameters. So once we have the system that is real time and accurate enough, and we achieved building accuracy by inventing technology in ear infrared hemodynography that was giving us this new insights and real time, but actually building the analytics in the cloud. So then for us, the next thing was to figure it out, okay, which parameters will be the most actionable, that actually people can see the change, and we can build the tools as well, simple tools that require small amount of time and everybody can do to actually see the change. So in our case, we choose heart rate and heart variability because they are so linked into our autonomic nerve system. Our autonomic nerve system has those two branches, sympathetic and parasympathetic, that balance all the time. And in this case, whenever we go to the fight and flight, we know that heart rate goes up, heart variability goes down. That's why the heart variability tells us actually when our autonomic nerve system is going into fight and flight as well. On the other hand, the other end of the spectrum, which is rest and digest, when actually the body is entering into that recovery state, heart rate goes up, vitality actually goes down, but heart variability goes up. So there is that whole system that we build our algorithms to actually create the baseline for each person, and based on that, interpret that CISA where we are on that spectrum of the autonomic nerve system. So in that dashboard in place, we're looking at different interventions like breath work. We all know how to breathe. We all know how to control our breath, and that works like magic. Except it's a physiology. I think they're written in physiology, and actually that's something that just by slowing down it or doing it in certain pattern, we could see very quickly the changes into our autonomic nerve system state, but we can get more calm or more alert depending on what you need. So those are the core of our system. But that's just the beginning, as now we can keep adding more parameters and think about the applications in which those systems could help us the most in terms of improving our health, but also was very close to our mission, is looking at the cardiovascular health and then how to improve the heart health with those tools.
Okay, and you're monitoring the cardiovascular system in real time, so that's a tremendous amount of data. So you had mentioned that you're processing all that data in the cloud and then delivering insights back through a dashboard. If I think of the greater health monitoring ecosystem, which is becoming possible, you can do a lot of different things. Also temperature, you can monitor vocalizations for changes, you can monitor the sounds of respiration, the character of a person's cough, sleep quality, all those things. So did I understand you correctly that you have all the data in the cloud, that you also making an API available so your data can be part of a broader health monitoring ecosystem when these ecosystems start to develop? Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And that's part of our vision of opening those APIs for the earbuds. The earbud is for us the place where we can get those data, especially there is more central sensors being added to the earbuds as well, or hearing aids as well. So we could fuse all of that information in our cloud and open the APIs. So all the applications could feed those information and provide really actionable solutions for the customers. And that's part of our business model and our vision, to be inside and providing accurate information in real time.
And to that end, is the system available in a production earbud now, or to the extent that you can tell me, when would you expect people to be able to buy an earbud with the MindMics system in place?
I'm very excited to share that people who are interested, you can go to mindmics.com. We already have our earbuds for pre-sales, and we will start the shipment in the next few weeks. So it's exciting time for us. This is only very limited edition, as our vision is not to be the earbud company. There is so many great earbud brands out there and great earbud manufacturers, as well as hearing aid manufacturers and brands. We want to open those APIs. We are experts in those analytics and providing the actionable insights. But we have our limited edition of earbuds where the partners can go and buy and try it for themselves.
Okay, so that's the state of the company today, where you have your reference design running, the APIs are available, and now you're working with earbud companies to incorporate the system in production devices.
That is correct. So it's a very exciting time for us as we will be delivering very soon, not only our earbuds, but also the full heart health system with the dashboard and those analytics and the breathing exercises as well. So you can see actually the change and how we can change your physiology in real time.
Well, you're really in an exciting place, and I wish you success as you bring it to market. Before we wrap this up, do you have any last thoughts for the audience?
One of the aspects of MindMics that is super exciting is that when we think about our health, we usually looking at the symptoms. And what makes us at MindMics so excited is that those systems that we're building in the future could be used as a predictive health maintenance. This is the analogy I like to use, because we're using the vibrations in the factories to actually looking at machines before they break, literally inducing vibrations to see if there is all of the elements are working properly. We don't wait until those systems break. And when you think about our health, we kind of let it to go until it breaks. So with MindMics, our mission for the future is to build that, looking at those vibrations of the human body, and in the future being able to predict that something can go wrong and alert people on time when still small changes could make a big difference. But that's the future. That's our mission. But step by step with the right partners, really looking forward to deliver on that.
I love that analogy because there's so much going on in acoustic IoT. As you said, machine monitoring, for example, acoustically monitoring a machine that can detect when a bearing is starting to wear out, so you can do preventative maintenance. You're doing the same thing for the human body. You're acoustically monitoring the human body and developing insights and eventually being able to predict outcomes and give advice before something happens. That's really, really fascinating. I really appreciate you explaining that to us today. If people want to reach out to you to learn more or engage with MindMics, how would they do it?
We invite everyone to our website, mindmics.com, and contact us through our website. And also check out our blogs, where we are explaining how MindMics technology works, but also the power of the breathing exercises, of the heart variability, and a lot of different topics of how we can take control of our health with actionable tools that we bring into market as MindMics.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And thanks again for joining us today. And thanks to everyone watching this episode of This Week in Hearing.